Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the SRL TCR round 5 here. Well, what a great race we have coming up for you. Apologies that it says the Motegi ring at the top. It should actually say Mugello. That was all changed, but it's diverted itself back to its original. So we'll completely ignore that. But we are at the Mugello Circuit today, and a fantastic track that is indeed. Lots of twists and turns. Now what we'll do is we will jump straight in to all your points and standings then. So bringing up the pros points as it stands at the minute, Will Lyon leads the way on 396 and Adam Delmont on 352, and then Kim Roger Bjorkman behind that on 301. Then we have Arthur Thurtle, John Brown, Mark Draper, Andrew Lovesey, Paddy Faulkner, Pete Newman and Dan Mould there. That is your top 10 for the pro standings. Going down to the Pro-Ams, we have Neil Stevenson on 335, Dec Crowther on 280, and then Connor Pearson on 23. Williams, Hilton Nickinson, Ricardo Neto, Andy Littler, Frank Cinchetti, and Nick Kent at the bottom there as well. So that is all your points and lineups as things stand at the moment. Now, as you can see here, we are into the qualifying session at the moment. We did have some earlier technical difficulties in the broadcast. However, they seem to have been squashed out for now. And we resume back to where we once were. And that is sitting here live, bringing you some TCR action with 5 minutes left to go in the qualifying of this evening of racing. And we have 20 cars out there at the moment, or 21 should I say out there at the moment. Only 20 setting a lap so far. And then we have Mr. Hilton Nickinson and Rob Williams yet to make a time as well. So we'll just wait for those times to roll in, and we should be good to get things rocking and rolling here for the first race. You can see 1:59.8 is the quickest lap time so far for Adam Delmont. Then you've got Fraser Elphick, the quickest pro/am in any of the races out there tonight. He is P2 overall, Fraser Elphick there, just 1.5 tenths behind your leader of Adam Delmont in lap times. And then we have Mr. John Brown on the bottom step of that podium position at the moment, 3 tenths behind that. So with all the times very, very close together, this is going to spell for some great action and hopefully some class overtakes around this track as well. Like I say, there are a lot of twists and turns in this circuit, and a lot of long corners as well for these cars to really try and get the moves done and possibly prove some challenging moves around the outside if anyone dares to go that route. Now we do have 22 cars out on the track at the moment. Only 21 of those setting a time so far. Rob Williams still yet to get out on track, I believe, at the moment. But we have just over 3 minutes left before the racing commences here at Mugello Racing Circuit. Now let's jump away from Mr. Craig Walters and head to the P1 man, the provisional pole currently. Adam Delmont leading the way with that quick time. And it's not going to be easy to beat that. I mean, we've seen drivers get very close to it, as you can see on the timing table there, but nothing's as close as what we're seeing with Fraser Garrity here, Stephen Fry and Dec Crowther. They are ultra close with their lap times. Basically nothing between them. Same with Carl Fleet and Scott Malcolm back here. This is Carl Fleet on your screen at the moment, with the old traditional livery there. I can't remember who that was based off of, to be fair. That's poor racing knowledge on my behalf, but I know that is a classic livery of a old racing team. But I'm sure someone in the chat can inform me. So if you are in the chat and you're watching today, get yourselves involved in the broadcast. Give off your comments. Have any questions? I'll try my best to answer them. But yeah, fling them left, right and centre at me, and we'll see what we can do. Now, with just 2 minutes on the clock left of this qualifying session before we kick it off underway here this evening in the sun-shining skies of Mugello, I can reveal in the first race what the magical reverse grid number is. And I'll actually reveal that when we sit on the grid after I've brought you your lineup for the first race. Pete Newman says Williams. Okay, Williams is it? Okay. Well, there we go. That's the classic Williams livery there on Carl Fleet's car. I appreciate you for letting me know that as well. Thank you very much. Fraser Elphick in the SRL livery, a very common livery we're seeing these days, not only in these leagues, obviously hosted by the SRL, but also in officials. Seeing quite a few SRL TCR cars whipping their way around in some of the official races and some of the other series races as well. So all good things to looking at there. I will say there is it's just been brought to my attention that Mr. JB Deju and Scott Malcolm are showing us the wrong class on the timing tower, so that will be corrected next time out here, so I apologise for that. That is on myself. It's always the love of showbiz when things are live. There's always things that go wrong, especially for me. My luck seems to be absolutely shocking. So, yeah, apologies about all of that. Now, what we'll do is we'll bring you your grid here in just one moment. There it is. So, Adam Delmont does lead the way. Fraser Elphick, P2. John Brown, P3. Paddy Faulkner, P4. Kim Roger Bjorklund, P5. Arthur Thurtle, P6. Deck Crowther, P7. Then we've got Connor Pearson, P8. JB Deju in P9. Fraser Garrity, P10. Stephen Fry, P11. And then we have Stuart Gibbons, P12. Going down the grid, then we have Anthony Hilton, P13. Neil Stevenson, P14. Cooper Akers, P15. Craig Walters, P16. And then we have Chris Barnes, P17. Alan McCain in P18. Carl Fleet in P19. And Paul Hurley ran off your top 20. Then we've got Scott Malcolm, Hilton Nickinson, and Rob Williams. And I can tell you that magic number now is where Mr. Alan McCain sits in this race. That P18 will be the magic number that these racers will be trying to go for. Not that they will know it at the time, however. So that'll be a interesting thing to see when these guys do try and battle out for those positions. They won't realise that it's actually that P18 position is the one that they need. There is your leader on screen then, Adam Delmont, who's going to get us underway here in just a moment. You're going to see the 5 red lights get up and get us underway here for Heat 1 of 2 this evening. Remember, 20 minutes for the first one, 25 minutes for the second race as well. The extra 5 minutes will play crucial for some people, for others maybe not. And here we go, we are underway. A little bit of smoke from a couple of the cars out there on the grid, but the rest of them got a fairly clean start. And one person that definitely got a nice start off the line there was Alan Delmont. Same with Fraser Elphick as they go battling side by side down towards turn 1. Then you can see that slight kink in the straight there before they get into the braking zone, and here we go. Adam Delmont does take the lead. Fraser sits in just behind. There's movements all around the back of the field here, 3 wide. Some of these cars are going through turn 1 and 2 into what I would say is 2 long chicanes basically. And oh, there's a Blaze Design car around there. That's not good. I think that's Mr. Stuart Gibbons. He drops right down the grid, and Deck Crowther actually as well. I think both of those are out. Yeah, unfortunately Deck Crowther there was in the pits, and there's Stuart Gibbons in the background. So straight away, chaos for the Blades Design team. Now here's something interesting. Here he is then, Mr. Arthur Thurtle is he's not using his usual setup, shall we say. He's actually operating his vehicle via a controller, so he's decided to ditch the wheel because he feels he might be faster with just a controller, so that's what he's going for tonight. But just to clarify before anyone picks up on that, that is not the actual reason. It's to do with his house moving and everything, so unfortunately he doesn't have the rig to use tonight, so he has opted for the Xbox controller just so he can at least be here. And he's not doing a terrible job. It's B14, but he said anyone that finishes behind him should retire. So Cooper Akers, you better start putting your foot down, sir. if you want to start moving up the field and not retire from being behind Mr. Thurtle. And someone that doesn't want to hang about is Scott Malcolm there, trying to get by Mr. Thurtle. Here they come on your screens, and there goes Thurtle, and there goes Scott Malcolm. But he's now having trouble from behind as well. There he is with Cooper Akers just in behind him. Cooper's going to go up the inside. Does he get the move done? He does stick it, and he holds that inside line very well, but Cooper Akers also opens himself up to a little bit of an attack there from, that is, I believe, Alan McCain in the background. So here we go. Bit of a closer view on this. Alan McCain is going to get that draft up the long straight then. He is going to open it up to make it pretty much 3 wide between these guys as they come through into turn 1. Well, in fact, Scott Malcolm does go through, and Cooper Akers is still side by side with Alan McCain as things stand. And there's a bit of backing up there from Mr. Malcolm, and that does bring all sorts of cars into play here. And this is the battle of the century towards the lower half of the grid, as Alan McCain does come out successful and gets by Cooper Akers, but another Scott Malcolm is yet to get by, and he currently is in front in this pack. He leads this pack through this race at the moment, but it's not going to be an easy position to hold because there's a lot of cars within close vicinity there. And then we have, I was going to say, Paddy Faulkner and Kim Roger Bjorklund battling out, but Kim Roger Bjorklund unfortunately was a little bit, those two came a little bit too close, and pushed Kim Roger Bjorklund onto the gravel, which does inevitably slow him down and deteriorate his pace, which has allowed Connor Pearson to jump up a position. And I've just realised that Connor Pearson is not showing on the old timing tower. I will see if I can fix that for you. I'm not too sure why he is not showing up, but I can assure you he is there. He is this man here on your screens in the Halfords livery. So he is out on track, but the question is, why is he not showing? Yeah, I'm not too sure what is going on with that. Connor Pearson is here, I can assure you of that, but for some reason his name is not showing up in our old time and tower. So another thing that's going wrong for me tonight, unfortunately. Arthur Thurtle's still doing all right though, not too shabby at all. P11, he's actually moved up, I believe, from where we last saw him. So he's doing a good job so far. He's currently at that midpoint in the pack. So and when you think about it, there's 18 cars that are going to be turned around and flipped on their head basically for the reverse grid. So Arthur's more or less going to be in the middle for race 2 as it stands right now. So that is one thing to watch out for. As we see, Mr. Thurtle is on your screen in a minute, in a bit of a nice gap here. Not too close behind, not too close in front either, which is very handy indeed. Let's have a look up the time timer. Who's doing what? And Fraser Garrity here looking for a move up the inside, and unfortunately doesn't really go for it. Backs out if anything, and Anthony Hilton does keep his position and moves on just a little bit up the road. There's a little bit more of a breathing space between the two, as they do end up trying to go side by side once again. And Fraser Garrity, I don't think, has the speed to get the move done yet, but he's creeping up slowly. So I think he's more not trying to overdo the car and overcook the tyres. He wants to try and buy this time and pick the right opportunity to strike and get that position. As you can see, I do see the wheel in Arthur Thurtle's car there in the background. Very noticeable with the twitches and the flicks. I'm sure that is proving to be a painful day for Mr. Thurtle there with the controller in the background. 2-minute .557 is showing up as quick as lap time, even though Mr. Delmont just got a 2 minute. Oh, well, I can't even talk. 2 minutes and 5 tenths of a second there, but he had a 2 minute And then 5:33 then. So yeah, that was a quicker lap time, but it didn't show up as the purple lap time, but I can assure you that is the quickest lap of the session so far, as we jump away from Mr. Fraser Garrity and go towards Stephen Fry, who's just a little bit further back, P12 currently, and he's going to be looking to claw up that position as soon as he possibly can, really. But he's backed off a little bit from the car ahead, which is not ideal for him, so he's got to be careful because he's got a lowering Chris Barnes in the background there, and it's not going to be a very easy job to keep him back either. So that's going to be a interesting situation for him to deal with. Stephen Fry does go on the attack, however, and is trying to push up by one Mr. Arthur Thurtle once again. Thurtle seems to be in amongst all the battles at the moment, using the Xbox controller to all its might. And speaking of battles, we just saw Deju there in the timing tower getting very close, but then backing off massively. And Neil Stevenson's slowly closing up. You see still a bit of locking up going on, and there's a bit of action down here then, as we see the classic Williams livery on the outside, getting almost trapped between these three, as they do pretty much make it 3 wide. Cooper Akers back out. Sorry, he backs out, which was the probably sensible call there, as Cooper Akers once more goes side by side with Mr. Alan McCain. Seen this once already, and no doubt we'll see it multiple times in this race. And this is what I was mentioning at the very start of this broadcast, is who dares to take the outside line around some of these corners. So they are extra wide corners, and you might be able to carry a bit more momentum, but I'll tell you what, it's going to be really difficult to get the overtakes done, especially on that final turn, because it's such a long straight. So any slight mistake, and that could cost you all the way up the straight, and obviously that is not a short straight either, so that will really cost big time. As we jump back to Stephen Fry, and once again he's trying to close the gap on Mr. Arthur Thurtle. Normally Arthur would have his foot down and be going absolute hammer and tongs at it, but at the minute he's a bit restrained with his Xbox controller, unfortunately, so he's not able to push up past any positions here. And oh, it looks like we had a Chris Barnes there going on the infield there, as you can see the grass flicks up in the background as he was battling out with Stephen Fry, I think trying to go up the inside, and took a bit too much of the inside curve and ended up going onto the grass. It's a very mushed up car, mushed up front end of Craig Walters there, very mushed up indeed. And going up to Mr. Deju up this end of the tower then, and that's P6 overall at the minute for that Backfire SimSport TV livery there with the lime green wheels. It's impossible to lose a set of rims on Deju's car, and to my knowledge we haven't recorded one missing yet, so the colour's really paying off for him. And things, as we hit the 10-minute mark, have seemed to calm down just a little bit between some of the battles out there on the field. Let's say they're not as furious as what they were a couple of laps ago, or even not even a couple of laps, a couple of corners ago. We saw cars going 2 and 3 wide into several different corners. And speaking of going up for attacks, is Mr. Stephen Fry again once more trying to get one up on Mr. Arthur Thurtle, but it's not going to be an easy job. Even with an Xbox controller, he's still going to be able to defend that position, and he's doing it very, very well so far. That car's looked awfully stable, considering there's a controller you say. You can see the flicks of Mr. Thurtle's wheel going into the corners. So you can see it's really not a fun job for Mr. Thurtle. Here he is. Just watch his steering wheel there. He's trying to keep it smooth, but you can see how jolty it is with the quick sudden flicks of the steering. There's one of them. Just to try and bring that front end of the car around a little bit for the corners. There's a bit of up ahead as well. see how many flicks you've got to get to keep it in a straight line, so that's not proven that easy for Mr. Thurtle, but he's done a fantastic job keeping it facing the right way so far. Now, here is Mr. Fraser Elphick on your screens, who's chasing down the leader, and 6/10 between the two of Adam Delmont and Fraser Elphick. Again, it's going to be a tough battle between these two, but they are two completely different classes and they are fighting it out for the lead. John Brown not too far behind that. 3.3 seconds sounds like a lot, but to be fair, that gap can close up in a heartbeat, because anything could happen between these two at the top of the tower. Heading down towards the rear end of the table once again, and Carl Fleet and Alan McCain go at it with Alan McCain taking up the inside line and carrying that all the way through, trying to get the advantage up the home straight, but Carl Fleet is going to come back with that extra little bit of momentum out of the corner there and keep his car nose in front of the 212 on the outside of Alan McCain. He's basically almost been not really cut off there, but his line was cut through, should we say, as Carl Fleet and McCain deal with a switchback on each other and going into the longer chicane of the few that are on this track. That is the same positions as they were on the home straight, so Carl Fleet does remain in front at the moment. Alan McCain just behind, but Alan McCain I didn't think was going to break enough just then. I thought that was going to be a rear-ending issue. JB Deju at the minute, he was getting close again to Kim Roger Bilkman, but not enough unfortunately at the moment. He's just a little bit more out of that car to get the move done on Kim Roger Bilkman, because he's a tricky customer to get by, so he's really got to try and work at that as best as he possibly can. And it actually looks like he's backed off just a little bit in this corner, but I think he's entered in slower and he's come out a little quicker, which has put him back onto the rear end of Mr. Bjorkland again. And is that Paul Hurley? He's had a bit of a situation here. He's dropped down a few positions. He's now towards the rear of this pack of cars that are battling out still at the moment within this race. They haven't seemed to stop since the start of it, so they are still going around at the moment with Paul Hurley towards the rear of that pack. Rob Williams and Hilton Nicholson are in this race still. They're going around P19 and P20 overall. Rob being 12 seconds off the pack, but that time is coming down rather quickly. So I think Rob is finding that pace and really clawing that time back. Possibly involved in an earlier incident, because obviously we did see a few cars go off. As you can see, Chris Barnes and Arthur Thurtle battling out. Now this is going to be an interesting battle with Chris Barnes normally wearing fancy goggles in a VR system when racing around these tracks. And then we have Thurtle in unfamiliar territories with an Xbox controller, so it's going to be interesting to see these two attack and defend against each other. A decent amount on the line, now not in class, but nevertheless they're still going to enjoy battling each other, no doubt. Both will probably have a smile on their face as they come down into the downhill section now. There we go on the long left-hander. See, Barnes is looking up on the inside. He did have one eye out there, but didn't go for it in the end. We're just sitting there and waiting. Possibly going to make a move on the final corner of this track. We will wait and see. It's not going to be long till we find out, to be fair. What we'll do is we'll show you the track map there in the top right-hand corner. You can see we're focusing on P12 of Alpha Thurtle right now, which is the bright green dot with the big 12 in the middle. That is where we are on the track currently, so we're coming up towards the final few corners of the lap, and it really does show you how far and how close some of these groups actually are to each other. But this one is going to be an interesting battle, because I think Barnes' move is possibly going to be at the end of this straight, but we'll find out on who gets the better momentum out of this corner. There's a big snap of steering into that corner there from Mr. Thurtle. You see the whole car jolt so violently, if anything, into that final turn, and out they come across the line once more to run off 16.5 minutes of this race has lapsed so far. Thurtle taking a bit of a dip on the tyres onto the grass, and is that going to bring Chris Barnes into play? Is Chris going to look up on the inside and go for the overtake? It does look up towards the inside. He does get on the brakes a little later. Thurtle does give him room. There's a little bit of a snap from Thurtle's car there once again, and Barnes does get the move on the inside, but Thurtle's going to have the advantage now as Barnes going to let him have the position back. There's massive respect between the two drivers. They're still going to go side by side through this chicane as Barnes once again sits on the outside line coming into the next couple of corners, and Thurtle does take the advantage, does slip through, but Barnes still has his nose on that corner of Thurtle's car. Needs to make sure he doesn't get an off track by cutting that corner too much. I think he's okay at the moment. He's got the position done though. He moves off into the distance. There he goes into the downhill segment, so he did get the move done and moves up. Craig Walters and Stephen Fry at the minute close together. These two have been a duo to watch this entire race. Not left each other's sides once as things stand at the moment. Fraser Garrity as well, just up the road, looking to battle it out at the moment with, I believe that is Anthony Hilton, just in front. The 420 car there, the white, green and black Audi, heading up towards the hard right-hander, basically a big old U-turn. This corner that they're now going into, as you can see Fraser Garrity taking a very wide entrance into that corner, getting the speed up and getting on the accelerator early to try and get right on the back of Anthony Hilton there to get that overtake sorted, done and dusted. Heading up towards P3 and 4. There's your leaders going past on the screen just then, and here he is, Mr. John Brown, with Paddy Faulkner flashing his lights just in behind him. There goes Paddy. And there's your white flag as well, so that's something to keep in mind. The white flag is out, so these guys are on their last lap of the race. Fraser Garrity still putting on that pressure, and so is the joints in Barney's arm, with that white flag waving horrendously around. Probably in sort of somewhat windy conditions up that high off of the track. But Fraser Garrity is currently sitting behind in P9, at the moment behind Anthony Hilton. Nothing has changed between those yet. Alan Kane and Scott Malcolm going into the corner side by side. Scott Malcolm is on the inside line, does keep that grip rather nice on the inside there, and slips through past Alan McCain. It looked like McCain almost lost the car a bit on the outside there, probably loss of grip being so far out from the apex of the corner. Heading up again towards Stephen Fry, who is closing that time down. You can see it's really coming down on that straightaway there, and I think they do make contact. Stephen Fry's back end does get a bit loose and squirrely, but he manages to hold it, keep it off the grass and carry on going, but he's got to be careful because that could bring Barnes into play. Is there enough time for Christopher Barnes to get the attack on and try and move up once more? As it stands, Paul Hurley is the magic man in P18. He's going to be that pole position for race 2, so 25 minutes he could have until a victory comes his way. It's not a massive deal of time when you think about it. We're 10 laps in here at the Mugello Race Circuit, and we're 20 minutes into this race, just over that, so the flag will be coming out very, very soon. But speaking of the flag, there goes your race leader, and any second now, soon to be race winner. There he goes across the line, Adam Delmont, P1, with the quickest lap time of the session, right on the final lap as well. Fraser Elphick P2, and then we had Paddy Faulkner and John Brown. We had those as I said, them 4 and 3, but yeah, John Brown did finish on that podium spot. Colin Pearson P5, obviously he is here, but for some reason he's invisible to my timing tower, but I promise we will get these little fixes out as soon as possible to get those sorted. But a top job of racing for these guys out there in the first race of this evening. Now, we do have another race yet to go, and these guys will have an extra 5 minutes to go around. Hopefully we can get Rob Williams and Hilton Nicholson in the battles, and the same as the Blade Design cars as well. Hopefully we can get those guys in the mix after that incident. I think that was on like the first couple of turns, possibly going into that first set of chicane corners, and unfortunately seem to have caught the Blade Design team out. Now what we'll do is we will bring you your results for Heat 1. And they are as follows. Adam Delmont is your race winner, your race victor for the opening heat tonight here at the Mugello Circuit. Then we have Fraser Elphick P2, John Brown P3, Paddy Falkland P4, Connor Pearson P5, Kimron Brooklyn P6, JB Deju P7, Neil Stevenson P8, Anthony Hilton P9, Fraser Garrity P10, Craig Walters P11, Stephen Fry P12, Chris Barnes P13, Alpha Thurtle P14, Scott Malcolm P15, Alan McCain P16, Cooper Akers P17, as it scrolls down to Paul Hurley P18, Carl Fleet P19, Rob Williams rounds off your top 20. Then we've got Hilton Nicholson P21, Stuart Gibbons P22, and Deck Crowther P23. So that is your opening lineup, and well, your opening finishers for race 1, should I say. And what we're going to do is, obviously, we do have now a 5-minute warm-up. We've got 4 minutes left of it, so we're going to quickly just pop off and get things sorted. And I'm going to see if I can look into why the why some things, should we say, aren't working. So what we'll do is we will look into that, and whilst I look into that, I'm going to show you a poster from the SRL channel. So obviously, if you want to take a look and you want to possibly get involved either this season or the next, do take a look at that, and we'll leave that up just until we return with more commentary here today. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. We have returned what is going to be hopefully a fantastic second race. What we'll do is we'll bring you up your grid here in just a moment. The results are in for the warm-up. Obviously no one was out on track there the second time around. And I'm just looking. Yes, Connor Pearson's name is up there. We are in. So here is your grid then. Paul Hurley leads the way. Cooper Akers P2. And then we have Alan McCain P3. Scott Malcolm, Alpha Thurtle, Chris Barnes, Stephen Fry, Craig Walters, Fraser Garrity, Anthony Hilton, Neil Stevenson, JB Deju, your top 12 there. There are Kim Roger Bjorklund, Connor Pearson, Paddy Faulkner, John Brown, Fraser Elphick, Adam Delmont, Carl Fleet, Rob Williams, Hilton Nicholson, Stuart Gibbons, and Dec Crowther there as well. Fingers crossed for a better race for the Blade Design livery team, as there is the man leading the way, Mr. Paul Hurley, then waiting for things to get underway. Here's your front-on view of the starter. A little more smoke from all the cars as they come out towards turn 1, then a bit of a lengthy straight, to be fair, for these guys as they move up the field. Speaking of moving up the field, Cooper Akers instantly takes an early lead. Can Cooper take this all the way to the end? Early doors, yeah. Alan McCain, you're in the middle of a 3-wide battle there. Oh, it did go to 3-wide for a second, and it's gone back to a 3-wide battle as Alan McCain does pull through in the middle with Scott Malcolm on the inside. Smoke there in the distance, cars going all over the place, and we've got JB Deju off, unfortunately, on to the gravel. And Rob Williams did make it through that as well. Looks like we had Kim Roger Bjorklund and Paddy Faulkner back here in that incident as well. Looks like JB decided to join the track a little later on, and I think there's the issue with JB's car. You can see there he's got some horrific damage on that front wheel there, and I don't think we're going to get a camera to fully show it. I mean, well, you can see the extent of it there. He's turning to the right, and his front corner wheel is actually facing to the left, so if that doesn't explain the damage, I don't know what does. Surely that's not Hurley. Oh, Hurley was leading this race, and speaking of Mr. Hurley, there he is. The man that started off in P1 in this race. And, oh, Mr. Thurtle looking to go up on the inside. Craig Walters then. Craig Walters did shut the door, and Thurtle did back off just a little bit, but also backed onto the grass. And going back a little way here. There is Mr. Stuart Gibbons, but back even further than that, we just saw Fraser Elphick and John Brown really close together in the corner in the background there, as John Brown and Dec Crowther possibly going to go at it. Dec Crowther does take the opportunity to get in front and sit in that SRL sandwich. So the good thing is that we do have Dec Crowther and Stuart Gibbons still going around as well, so hopefully they can enjoy the full length of race 2 after that unfortunate incident in race 1, which involved both of those going off track, sadly, being collected in like a massive cluster of cars we had at the beginning, which is really tough to get out of, unfortunately. Luck just wasn't on either of their sides, and spilled them off the track and into the gravel and beached for tow back to pits. Now, speaking of bunches of cars, here is one to bring to you. Connor Pearson there. Again, I apologise, Mr. Pearson, if you are watching this back later on, because I know you're not watching it live at the minute because you were in the car, but if you're watching it back later on, I do apologise, your name wasn't on the title tower. It is now, and you're in the correct class as well, so I believe. So we got it fixed. We got it sorted. As you see the Halfords car there, conceding the position to Mr. Delmont, who obviously was your race victor for race number 1, and he does take that position very easily, like taking candy from a baby as he comes through in the SRL car there, number 37, in the opted Honda. And Anthony Hilton trying to get past one Mr. Neil Stevenson there. Oh, that was a jump and a half from Fraser Elphick, who was trying to get up on the inside there of Mr. Stuart Gibbons. And it looks like he has actually come out victorious as well, and he's moved up. Carl Fleet also looks to do the same. There he is up on the inside line there, and that's going to bring the two Blade Designs cars together. And in fact, never mind, Stuart Gibbons is still going to take the fun to Mr. Fleet. as Dick Crowther in the background there is trying to fend off John Brown as well, but also not trying to put off his teammate just in front of him during his battle as well. So he's probably going to try and use a bit of team play and push Stuart Gibbons on through this little conjunction of cars here to try and get a little bit of an advantage if possible. Speaking of getting an advantage, Alan McCain here is cruising up the field, and or say cruising up the field, trying to do so anyway, as Scott Malcolm does take the inside line and almost gets away from Alan McCain, but he does try and pull it back on the inside line. He doesn't manage to do so there. That's going to cost him big time as Scott Malcolm does go through, but unfortunately he goes onto the gravel, which is going to open the battle up once more for Mr. McCain, who's now on the outside once again. A little bit further back than what it actually looked. I do apologise. In our camera there, it did look a lot closer than that. However, there was an easy car's length between the two vehicles as they went into the corner. Let's not forget, now things are a little bit quiet for this man up top, but Cooper Akers, he is your race leader at the moment, and we did see him win a race earlier in the season. I believe that was actually back in Japan, if I'm not mistaken. So he's looking to add his tally up and make it 2 race wins this season. Stephen Fry also looking to go on the attack. As you can see there, they're side by side at the moment, battling for P3. Stephen Fry currently sitting in P4 overall in that pink and black SRL livery there as they come flying through once more. Alan McCain doing a good job so far holding off Mr. Stephen Fry. Chris Barnes in the background though, so he's got to watch out for that. Now obviously class changes recently. Scott Malcolm moving to the AMS, currently P2, sitting 1.2 seconds behind the leader and time closing as well. So that'll be something to look at. Here he is, Mr. Scott Malcolm, absolutely flying, sir. Goes down a class and then says, you know what, SRL, let me show you what I can do. And currently sitting there in P2, cruising his way up for a bruising in P1. And Alan McCain just behind him, getting very close to the back of Scott Malcolm's car, actually there. And same with Stephen Fry as well, basically backing up a little bit of a train between behind Mr. Malcolm. And Chris Barnes needs to be careful of what's going on in front of him, because any slight mistake and he could be collected amongst any damages caused. Speaking of damages caused, damage was caused to this car earlier in the race, who's currently sitting P20, and that is Mr. Kim Andre Bjorkland. Unfortunately, just that earlier incident did see him drop down the field drastically, so he has dropped a lot further than what he would have liked. Oh no, this is not what we want to see. Stuart Gibbons going down the grid a couple of positions there, down into P19, now sitting behind Rob Williams, who is going around fairly well in his nice chrome red and black Kraken Racing livery there. Car number 93 comes up into the uphill right-hander. Quite a nice gap in front of him, also behind him as well, so maybe he's just content to sit in this gap and finish this race. But we're only 7 minutes and 45 seconds in, so you got to think about, like, when are you going to really start to put your foot down? Are these tyres going to fall off a little sooner? Is the track temp a little hotter than last time? In like heat 1, or even due to other rounds? There's a lot that comes into play here. And speaking of things that come into play is John Brown, because when those eyebrows out, he's out to play. As he moves up towards Mr. Hurley, he does get on the inside line. Can he hold it now all the way on to the home straight? He does hold that inside line. Now the question is, as he comes over the crest there, can he maintain that position? Here is your track map at the moment. There is Mr. Brown side by side with Paul Hurley. Remember, Paul was your leader this race, currently sitting P14 overall. Let's bring your battle box
up here in the bottom right corner as well. You can see the positions gained and lost. Unfortunately, Paul Hurley down 14 positions, about to be 15 as well, because Deck Crowther does get in front and takes that advantage. Oh, is Carl Fleet also going to sneak through as well against Paul Hurley? Paul Hurley's doing everything he possibly can to try and get back in the line, in the queue basically, to get back on that racing line and keep going on and holding his position as best as he possibly can. It's not going to be easy, and unfortunately he has gone wide heavily onto the infield. Surely that'll be some form of slowdown from the stewards. Now, is that going to go into Stuart Gibbons' hands, as he has overtaken Mr. Rob Williams? And it looks like Paul Hurley's actually back up to speed, so I don't think he got any form of slowdown or penalty for that earlier. And here's your race leader in a minute, Cooper Akers. But he's got to be careful. He's got Scott Malcolm right on his rear end, then Alan McCain, Stephen Fry and Chris Barnes all battling for the lead currently. Now, some of these people are going to have nosebleeds for how high they are up the table. And if you look at just base these drivers on class alone, which is not a way to judge a driver, but just as an example, on paper, the red obviously stands for the amateurs, the blue is the pro-am, and the green is the pros. Now, look, there's a little more green towards the back of the table than there is at the top of the table, and there's a bit of blue and red up there rather than green, so it's a big mix, and especially since we're being led by a pro-am at the minute of Cooper Akers, and then an am of Scott Malcolm there in P2, and then pro-am of Stephen Fry, then we have the pro of Alan McCain, and then am of Chris Barnes. So that's your top five, so a healthy mix. We have all three classes in amongst that top five. As you can see, one of the AMs in that top five is Chris Barnes, and he's getting right up on the back end of his battles there, of that number 35 of Stephen Fry. And we are focusing on Alan McCain at the moment. Chris Barnes just in behind that. Unfortunately, did back off just a little bit, and now he's going to have to suffer an attack from Craig Walters. Be careful, he is on your outside. They do give each other space, and Craig Walters does back out and give Barnes that position. And lets him ride off into the sunset almost with it, as he does clear off a little bit up the road. Anthony Hilton just in behind Deck Crowther, who's in P14. There is no magic number for this race, because this is the final race of the evening. There is no reverse grid anymore. This is it, and Connor Pearson does get that overtake on Arthur Thurtle. He has got past the controller demon, and that car 31 did have some good pace in race 1. Can he replicate that in race 2 and try and push on even further? Adam Delmont just behind Mr. Thurtle and Mr. Pearson. Has he got the pace to get up the field? No, he has got an attack from Fraser Garrity, so he's gone for an inside line there. Can Fraser Garrity get that momentum coming out of the corner and gain the advantage over Delmont? It doesn't look like he's going to do so. They're actually going to stay equidistant since that previous corner, so nothing much changes between those two as they go up towards the final few turns of this lap. In fact, on this final turn of this lap. And you can see they're coming on to the home straight. You have Mr. Delmont, who's not too far behind the car ahead at all. There you go, him and Mr. Thurtle do commence battle any second now. You're going to see swords swung and shields clanged together between these two as they do fight it out, and Delmont does go towards the outside. Can Thurtle have enough in the tank to hold the inside line? He does hold the inside line. Does he get any form of advantage or defence going into the chicane? Doesn't look like he's going to do so. And unfortunately, Thurtle does concede the position. Does that bring Garrity into play though? And I think it may do so. But let's jump up to Stephen Fry, who's also getting in amongst it with Scott Malcolm here. Battle for P2 as it stands. In fact, it's battle for P1 really, but the pack is from P2 to P4 there. And in fact, not P4, P5, sorry, as Chris Barnes does go to make the move on Alan McCain. They're side by side once again. He did get up there for a split second, but then unfortunately dropped back down, so he's posing a bit more difficult to get by than what Barnes originally thought. Craig Walters and I thought that was going to be a bit of an off track and a slow down then for Neil Stevenson just in behind that. Not slow down penalty, but slowing him down on the gravel. but maybe that's because I'm flicking my head between the timing tower and the camera operations. Rob Williams, P19, closing the gap to Paul Hurley, who was your race leader and race starter as well. He started that P1 position, unfortunately down 17 places as it stands at the moment. Possibly soon to be 18 if Rob has the pace to do so. Stephen Fry currently P3 in amongst a high-end battle sandwich at the moment. These guys have not left anything at all on this track as they come up the straight, and this is a better angle as they come up over the crest. You see Connor Pearson in the background there flashing his lights towards Chris Barnes. He's not that close to Chris Barnes though, so I don't think he's going to be worrying too much, as he is on the back of this battle between McCain and Stephen Fry, as Chris Barnes does actually get his nose up, or I thought he got his nose up on the inside, does back out just a little bit, back up to Stephen Fry then, who's trying to attack Scott Malcolm and tucks in just behind him, and these guys really aren't letting each other go whatsoever. Oh, Scott Malcolm does get his... Oh, he does get sand between his toes on the gravel there, as they go into the second lot of chicane turnings here in the first half of the Mugello circuit. Once again getting sand between his toes in the gravel once more, and again contact between the two, and both cars go off. So Stephen Fry and Scott Malcolm unfortunately both go off, and I think, was that Chris Barnes? We just saw... Oh, that was... devastation for Chris Barnes, who was having a very, very good race and good battles as well. Unfortunately, he went absolutely flying off into the barrier, almost Max Verstappen at Silverstone-esque, like he went shooting into the wall there. So hopefully there's no serious medical injuries for Chris Barnes, obviously. Hopefully everything is all good with him. I know he'll be frustrated with that as well. So Barnes, don't let your head go too much. It was good effort, and the battles were certainly fun to watch from up here. That is for sure. As speaking of battles, Stuart Gibbons at the moment, I'm trying to get him, but unfortunately it's between him and Anthony Hilton. Things keep flickering in and out because Anthony Hilton seems to be having some issues there with some connection, as that's going to be worrying Mr. Gibbons, who does go heavily wide on the exit there. I think there was quite a lot of smoke on the inside, so possibly avoiding something that you may have seen, or maybe there was a bit more blinking going on. And oh, this is big. There's a name going down the timing tower at the minute who is in the pit lane at the moment and entered the pits on their free will. Now Adam Delmont is in the pits. That takes him all the way down to P19, possibly a drive-through because he comes straight back out again. With seemingly no stop in between. So very interesting there for Mr. Delmont. I think it's a bit late for a last to first challenge, Mr. Delmont. I think you've left it a bit too late there, sir. As we've got Rob Williams looking to try and get up on the inside line. P15 overall, not a bad position there for Mr. Williams whatsoever, in that nice and shiny, clean chrome dome of a livery made by Blade Designs, obviously repping the Kraken Racing livery, or Kraken Racing team. There we go. Got it out eventually. I apologise about that, but a lovely livery nonetheless. Speaking of that, a familiar looking livery of Alan McCain, the iRace one there is what he's opted for, and currently fighting out for P1, that lead of the race. Cooper Akers still managing to hold it. He's only up one position, Cooper Akers. Obviously we saw him get the lead very early on in this race, literally on the start straight, just after these cars all got underway, and he's maintained it ever since. So a top job from him there, really early doors, which is all good and well. As we see, Alan McCain is closing that gap now. There's only 1/10 between him and our leader. Not even that, as Cooper Akers is going to have to go on the defensive, squeezing him out almost up the straight. You can see normally the cars are on the other side of the track. They've all come over this side because of the defensive work that is trying to go on at the moment. Alan McCain not backing down though. He's not going to be squeezed out lightly as Cooper Akers does take the inside line, but if Alan McCain can keep his nose in it, he has a chance going into the next chicane. He really needs to take advantage here as he does have the inside line. Can he slow Cooper Akers up at all at any point, or can he kill his momentum in any way, shape or form? You've got to be careful because Connor Pearson is sneaking up as well, and Connor Pearson we know has pace and a lot of it. Also lurking in the background is Mr. Controller, Arthur Thurtle. Now things, if they do play out the way this I'm suspecting them to, that will bring Thurtle into the mix and potentially see an Xbox controller win the race. Now that would be something special if Mr. Thurtle could pull that off. It's certainly going to be an interesting battle, but it's something that I'm not going to write off just yet as he's fighting to get on that podium, as he's on the inside of Connor Pearson. How there wasn't contact between those two cars, I do not know, as after that nose basically gets shut down by Connor Pearson's rear end of his Halfords livery, and obviously nothing malicious or on purpose there between those two. But that was some incredibly close stuff there between those. And Rob Williams is getting rather close now to Paul Hurley. Not much between those two. 2/10 is all that's in it. Can Rob get the move done and move up into P14? Because he's got Kim Andre Bjorklund, behind him. And obviously Mr. Bjorklund is in the pro category. He's very, very fast. But not going to take anything away from Mr. Williams, who is also a very quick driver, but he does need to get a move on because if not, Bjorklund's going to be knocking on the door as we just breached the 20-minute mark. Not long left to go now as these drivers do come around once more. You're going to see him come up the straight here. Rob Williams still settling in just behind Mr. Hurley's vehicle. There really isn't much between those two whatsoever. You can see they are literally side by side heading into turn one. Rob possibly going to look for the switchback. He's sitting there on the inside line. It's unfortunately closed out, so he's going to have to sit back in these chicanes. Adam Delmont doing a 1:59.9. I think he switched to the F1 softs at the moment because he is putting in some quick lap times. Alan McCain looks like he's out of the race as well, so he's dropped down sadly. So he has dropped right down the grid. Let's jump back up here then. Any advancements on the controller moving into P1? Nothing as of yet. Still P4 for Mr. Thurtle. Fraser Garrity holding that bottom podium position. Then we have Connor Pearson P2. And Mr. Cooper Akers still leading your race at the moment. Heading down towards this pack of cars then. Out here is sort of the back end of the battle for P10. It's only between these three cars. You have Anthony Hilton, then we have Carl Fleet, and then Mr. Stuart Gibbons here, and he's in that P10 position and in front of these two cars ahead. And it looks like Rob Williams did make the move on Paul Hurley and has moved up, in fact, not one position, but two. He's P13 overall now, and he's got Kim Andre Bjorklund right on his rear end, so he needs to be careful of that, because Kim is certainly not an easy car to keep at bay. Mr. Thurtle on the outside line of John Brown's car as Mr. Brown does come towards the inside line on the exit of that final turn. Across the start finish straight, there's Byron scratching his head waiting, because I think the next lap around will be the white flag lap. There's not much time left in it. Cooper, you haven't got long to defend against Connor Pearson. Is he going to do it? Is he going to bring it across the line? Let us know what you think in the chat below. There's Connor Pearson at the moment settling for P2. Adam Delmont once again goes even quicker and setting a new fastest lap time around this wonderful circuit. Here's the cockpit view of Connor Pearson. Not much splitting him and P1. You can see the back end of Cooper Akers. Oh, sliding out a little bit there. That's going to cost him. Can Pearson get up on the inside? Doesn't look like he's going to do so. Oh, does that bring Garrity into the equation? It does indeed. Fraser Garrity moves up one position, so this is getting really tense in the final few moments here, as we are heading towards the final lap of the race. And these guys really are bunching up, and I suspect this is how it's going to be towards the end of this session. And I don't think anything's going to give between these cars whatsoever. As you can see, Alpha Vettel trying to shake his way up past Mr. Brown, and oh, John Brown nearly losing the car there, manages to keep it in a straight line. And you've got Fraser Garrity flashing his lights at, I believe that is Connor Pearson that he's trying to flash at, even though they're side by side. So he's not going to see your lights, unfortunately, Fraser Garrity, because yeah, you guys were actually side by side at the time. So now would be the time to flash him, now that he could actually see you. But they come up onto the home straight. So here is the view for Mr. Fraser Garrity. That is P2 just ahead of you of Connor Pearson. And any moment now you will see Barney and his white flag. There he is, waving as always, as we go down the start-finish straight for the penultimate time before it is all said and done. Fraser Elphick also going to make moves and is sitting now in front of we know whose car that is in the Halfords livery. That one there will be Mr. Connor Pearson, who is unfortunately going to lose a position to Neil Stevenson by the looks of it. Possibly. No, he's actually going to hold it, but there's horrendous fender damage on the left-hand side of that vehicle. But, believe it or not, look at who's in P2 at the minute, going for a podium finish with a controller. Fantastic work from Mr. Thurtle so far, but let's not give any credit away from any of the other drivers, because let's look at this man here. Now this is one to focus on indeed, because if I look correctly, this man is the top overtakes for race 2. He is leading that tower. He's got 20 overtakes this race. Absolutely fantastic work from Mr. Deck Crowther. If he can get across the finish line in this position, that'll be a wonderful job for him. P3 overall, spectacular finish, and he'd win his class. So there'll be top quality stuff there. Then the next one down after that would be John Brown, who's obviously leading this race, and then after that will be Stuart Gibbons. So two Blade Design cars doing top jobs out there on this circuit. But here is your race leader as he comes around the final turn, and you can see JV Deju wanting his race to end. You can see him slowing down, waiting for the winner to come by so that he can cross the line, so he doesn't have to do any more laps. There's John Brown to win race 2. Mr. Thurtle goes by, Mr. Controller to get P2, and Deck Crowther, fantastic finish for him in P3 there. And then we have Fraser Garrity deciding to get a bit more heat in the tyres before he jumps into the pits. Let's jump back down towards Mr. Hurley then, who finished P15 overall with his pole start but unfortunate finish a bit further down the grid. And Adam Delmont once again going quicker, but then again, that's nothing new. We see that every single lap from Mr. Delmont. He's always going quicker, and today is no different at all. So what we're going to do is we are going to bring you your results any moment now, as we just wait for those to come through. And here they are. John Brown finishes your race victor for race number 2. Then Alpha Thurtle P2 on an Xbox controller. Bearing in mind, he did say anyone that finished behind him has to retire. So that's a lot of drivers that we're going to miss out for the rest of this season. But Deck Crowther grabs that P3 podium spot, but also wins his class as well. Then Fraser Garrity P4, but he got P2 in his class. Craig Walters also got that final podium spot in his class, but P5 overall. Then we've got Fraser Elphick, Neil Stevenson, Cooper Akers, Stuart Gibbons and Connor Pearson for your top 10. Seems like all the programs are all grouped together in the results stand. And then we've got Carl Fleet, Anthony Hilton, Rob Williams, Kim Andre Bjorkland, Paul Hurley, Paddy Faulkner, Adam Delmont there.
as well as we scroll down a bit further. Hilton Nickinson, JB Deju, Stephen Fry, Alan McCain, Scott Malcolm, and Chris Barnes. I do feel for Barnes a little bit there. It was a very unfortunate incident, and it did send him off quite a way away. So, yeah, a very, very unfortunate incident for him indeed. Now, what we'll do is we'll move on to any interviews we have. I'm just waiting to see if we have any drivers join us here for any form of interview. It doesn't look like it so far. Scott Malcolm gutted. Scott, you were having such a good race, but there was a couple of cars out there having fantastic races, and just towards the end it just didn't work out the way it should have done, unfortunately. It wasn't the night, you know, it wasn't the night to be. And yeah, it was unfortunate circumstances for some people. But what we'll do is I've been looking forward to this interview. We do have someone, and this man finished whopping P2, and not only did he finish P2, but he finished P2 on an Xbox controller as well. Sorry to interrupt your conversation mid-point there, Mr. Thurl, but welcome in. And, well, I've mentioned your messages about people should retire who finished behind you, but you've just wiped out almost the entirety of the SRL grid. So how do you feel?
I can't believe it. I've never been so nervous in second place before. Oh no! I couldn't believe it when the three cars went off in front of me. Oh dear! No, what a race!
It looks
dates now though.
It looks like you had it all under control. Like there was a couple of flicks and jitters here and there, but nothing too crazy. You know, we saw the wheel flicking out a little bit, but you just seemed to have it almost under control, like you were behind an actual wheel.
Yeah, I had it under control. I joined the practice session last night to just to see what could happen, and I'd done a reasonable lap time in there, and I felt like I had the car under control. So yeah, I asked John if it was all right if I did race on a controller, and yeah, I've now at a podium with it.
Now, is that maybe a good luck charm? Maybe the controller was always destined. Maybe this is the approach for the rest of the season. But
I don't know. I hope not. It makes my hand ache because I have to move my thumb so precisely.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it does. Yeah, it is difficult. But yeah, no, it's nice. I didn't know. I used to be very good on a controller, but yeah, it's been a few years since I raced with one. Yeah, it's great fun.
Well, yeah, you've done an amazing job. Now, how did you feel about the track in general, like Mugello? Are you confident around this track? You know, it's a little different to the last couple of rounds we've been to. So, what were your thoughts towards the racing out there today?
I've only ever raced around it once before, and that was in World GT. It's quite a nice track. I like it flows quite well. I like the long fast corners. I don't like the sausage curbs that they put on some of the apexes, although technically we shouldn't be over them anyway. But yeah, no, it's good. It's a good track. I like Mugello.
It looked like a lot of good fun, and well, you know, you said you were nervous and everything, and especially coming up to the last few minutes there, it looked like you were on potentially for a win almost. You were just outside the podium spaces, and then all of a sudden you jumped up to P2. And then was it literally just focus on the mirrors, or were you just deep down really trying to get at John and get by him and show him what a controller can do?
What a controller can do. No, I wasn't really looking in the mirrors. I was full on concentrating on all my inputs. It's because I'll be all right at the start, and then mid race it gets very difficult because the tyre, it's so easy to oversteer, obviously, with I turn the wheel too much because I've literally got like half an inch or whatever it is on the Xbox controller to go full left lock. The tyres overheat really easy, and so yeah, both races I was mid race I'd start out all right. Mid race I was then struggling, and then it would sort of come back to me towards the end. No, I'd seen Blade hadn't caught me rapidly, so I wasn't too worried. I just knew that if I didn't make a mistake, he couldn't get past me, and managed to hold it all together. But that was the most nervous I've ever been for P2.
I have to admit, that was probably some incredible racing, and I have to admit, I did give a little bit of a cheer as you went over the line, because I couldn't believe it. You know, I've seen people race with controllers before, and it's a bit like, almost like Marmite in a way. You know, it could either go really, really well and it looks rather tasty, or it can be completely opposite and no one likes it, and you could end up in a wall. But you've defied all expectations really, and come away with a fantastic finish. But are you going to be with us with the controller next week out, or is that going to be with a wheel?
Yeah, I'm going to be here next week, and then I will be moving the week after, hopefully. So then that's it. If I then appear again, it's because I've not moved. But if I've appeared again, I will have brought the rig home and I would have given up on moving.
That sounds like a better option in my opinion. But there is a little bit of bias in there, I have to admit. But, well, I'm not going to obviously stop you from doing your shout-outs, especially on a night like tonight where you pull off a fantastic, almost what seems to be a victory, to be honest. So the floor is all yours. Please do shout out and give any thanks to anyone you wish.
I'd like to shout out Microsoft for their excellent Xbox controllers. They're definitely the best bang for buck direct drive wheel on the market. All the Altitude sponsors. I think there's Freem, Mr. Hedge. I think there's another one, but I can't remember. That's not very good. That's it. I'm done.
Okay, well, massive shout out to Microsoft and their controllers. Top job from them. But I'll leave you to create a mold of your controller for a new trophy, and we look forward to seeing you next time out.
Thank you very much. See you next week.
Now, the next person we are going to be bringing in is your race Victor for race 2, and obviously a big name around town as well, and that big name around town is Mr. John Brown. Welcome in, sir, after a fantastic race 2 victory.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. 16th to 1st, I'll take that all day long.
Yeah, it was a really impressive race. There was a couple of cars there towards the end. You were within, I believe, the top 3. You were the second most overtakes out of the entire grid in race 2 there. Yeah, Deck Crowther, who finished P3, had 20 overtakes. You had 15, then Stuart Gibbons had 12. So
yeah, I was dragging Deck along behind me.
Yeah. That's what we're going to go, is it? Okay.
If you notice, he was right behind me the whole race, and I was just making gaps for him. I'm sure he'll agree to that.
Well, I do want to question you on one thing. Now, Arthur Thurtle obviously finishing just behind you on Xbox controller. Were you a little worried when you were battling out with Mr. Thurtle on what might happen? Were you worried about any twitchiness or anything, or were you feeling confident with his ability?
Well, I was a little concerned at first, but I know he spent a lot of time yesterday getting the controller just right, and I said, he asked if he was all right racing. I said, well, as long as you think you can handle it, then that's fine. And he did a stellar job. The amount of people he's beaten in that race today with a pad is they should all be embarrassed.
Well, he did say to me in a message before the broadcast, he did say that anyone that finishes behind me has to retire. So I think we have just lost about 95% of the grid. But
there's an awful lot of uninstalling going on right now.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a race we won't hear the end of for a little while. But it was fantastic, no doubt. And what are your thoughts on the Mugello track in general, like especially with the TCR combination? How did you feel with that?
So I really like the Mugello. I used to race it in AC in the GT3s before I even bought iRacing. So I've been waiting for years for it to actually come on to iRacing. I was a little disappointed with my pace in the previous week. Although I had some decent times, they were like Adam and Fraser were both really fast around there this week, and I just didn't have the pace to keep up with them. As you saw in race 1, they were just leaving me. I was I had to keep an eye on Paddy behind me because he was in my draft. He was sometimes he was creeping up, and then maybe he made a mistake and dropped back a bit. So I had to keep an eye on Paddy, which perhaps took my eye off the ball a little bit. But there was no way I was going to beat either of those two guys in race one. They were just too fast. So I was a little concerned, but this is racing, isn't it? Things happen, and race two got a bit interesting at the beginning there. So yeah, it was. These things happen, and I managed to work my way through and stay clean. I thought I was dead on after that first corner. There was a big accident that happened right in front of me, and I had to slow right down, and I lost a couple of places. But because I didn't get any damage, because I hit the brakes and stopped, it allowed me to carry on, and I did the best I could, and thankfully it was good enough.
Yeah, you certainly did a top job. Obviously, a fantastic race 2 result, and I think it's one of those races that Mr. Mould would have been kicking himself if he weren't a part of, because I have a feeling it would have probably been one of you two, or if not both of you, battling out for that top spot. So, a quality opportunity.
Yeah, I mean the track. Just going back to the track, it was a polar opposite from last week.
Yeah,
it's smooth, it's wide, there's no walls. I don't think during practice I crashed all week. So whereas obviously last week at Detroit, you had to be so careful. Those walls were just absolutely destroyers. So I quite like this type of track, the open, the wide. I think you can get much better racing without having to worry. There's less to worry about with regards to the track, and you can concentrate on the cars and the racing, which I much prefer. So.
Yeah, it was good racing, no doubt though, and obviously everyone seemed like they were enjoying themselves out there. We had some great side by side action going on, but as always, before you depart us here, give your shout outs, take the floor away, do whatever you need to do.
So, thank you to you for doing the commentary. Thank you for everybody who turned up. Big thank you to, I think it was Fraser Geraghty, who on the last lap took out the front 3 cars, which allowed me to get the win. He is a diamond, and I'll pay him later.
Oh, that's getting recorded and sent to the marshals, that one.
Yeah. Right.
Fantastic race, John. But we look forward to seeing you next week out, and more battling commencing with that TCR.
Yeah. Cheers, mate.
Thank you very much, and I'll see you again soon.
See you.
Okay, so bringing up your what I believe is your last interview now, which is with Mr. Cooper Akers. We'll get him into the booth with us here in just a moment. And here he comes now, Mr. Akers. Welcome in, sir. How are we?
Gutted because that last lap crash.
Yeah, it was looking really, really good up until that point. You took the lead very early on in the race, obviously on the opening straight. A top quality start that you got, and you held it pretty well ever since, and thought maybe this was going to be a repeat of what we saw. I believe it was in Japan, where you came with a race victory. I believe it was Japan.
Atlanta.
Oh, sorry, it was Atlanta. And we saw you pull away with a victory there and a dominant performance. Thought we were going to see it again. I think the cars just come a little too close together, and all three of you ended up getting swallowed up and unfortunately removed from that battle at the start. But leading up to that, feelings on Mugello, is it a track choice of yours? Would you say it's up there, or is this something you'd rather avoid?
Usually I very much don't like this track anyways. I just can never get a groove, and it just doesn't make sense to me. Like the guys behind me were doing about half a second a lap faster than I was. The only reason I was up there is because it's super hard to pass here. But getting past Paul on lap 1, I was just trying to hope that the guys behind me were fighting, because I did not have the pace to maintain it. I'm honestly surprised I even got it down to the last lap, but Fraser it got to me and apologized for it all. I probably need to give it a day because I'm livid I lost out on another victory, but no hard feelings from him. It was beating and banging as well between him and the Halfords, man. But yeah, just couldn't get it in the end.
Yeah, it wasn't the most ideal situation there, no doubt. But overall, it wasn't a terrible night for you. You know, it could have been a lot worse. At least the main thing is, you know, you got somewhat towards the end and managed to at least get that car around, you know, for the final time. But it was such a good race up until that point, though. But race one, did you have much confidence going into that? With like obviously the unknown of the reverse grid. What are your thoughts actually on the reverse grid? You know, when we come into race one, because that's not something I've actually asked drivers yet. Is obviously it's a random number, so you don't know what you're aiming for. So, do you just tend to try and put your foot down and try and get as many positions as you can, or do you risk it and sit off? You know, for positions. What's your like plan of action with that?
Get as many points as I can.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Straight to the point. I mean, so you said, you know, this track, let's be honest, all around isn't too bad. Round 5, we're going on to round 6 next, and round 6 is at the Hockenheim ring. So, Hockenheim, thoughts on that? Preferences?
Oh, I like it better than Mugello, that's for sure.
I mean, it is a slightly, obviously, shorter track. There's a little bit of the track that is cut out, but I think it's better suited to the touring cars that way. Just from what we've seen recently, obviously, your pace has been looking stronger and stronger each week out. So I reckon we'll be seeing you in the top half of that table, no doubt. And, you know, hopefully trying to get that class win, potentially, pushing on for that.
Doing it again, hopefully, yeah.
Oh, I won't go over obviously the incident too much because I know I've been there before. I know what it feels like. But what I'll do is I will leave you to have the floor to yourself to give any shout outs or thank yous you wish to do so before we end here tonight.
None tonight.
None tonight? Okay, not a problem at all. Well, Cooper, wish you all the best for this week and look forward to seeing you next time out at the Hockenheim ring. So yeah, all the best and we'll catch you very, very soon.
See you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do us for the interviews then. That has been the SRL TCR round 5 at the Mugello Racing Circuit, and it was a cracking race with spills right towards the end, and it all came up to the final minute of the races. Obviously on screen is all the details for the series as well if you wish to inquire about how the series goes on or have any further questions on it. Do join the Discord if you want to join it and you don't know the Discord code. Don't worry, pick up your smartphone, scan that QR code in the bottom right corner, it'll send you straight to a Discord invite and you can get yourself in there, ask any questions you wish, and possibly share your interest if you wish to get involved for the next season of racing. And no doubt it'll be a good one, but we won't go over too many things too much here because it's been all sorts, and it's been, like, I'd describe it as a massive explosion towards the end of race 2 there, with all sorts of emotions on the track. Obviously the lows from Mr. Akers and the highs from Mr. Brown and Thursall. So that is something that all comes in racing, unfortunately, but it is fantastic for us to watch here at home nonetheless. But from me, that is going to be all, and I wish you guys all the very best for this week, and join us once more next Friday for the next round of the touring cars in the SRL series, and what a good race it'll be. Over to Germany for the Hockenheim ring. See you there, and see you very soon.